Occasionally, something that seems to be just the peripheral, something that appears to be just a detail, sometimes encapsulates the entirety, and sometimes even on a deeper level than anything else. And if you look at the story of Purim, there's certain mitzvahs of the day that we have to do, certain obligations that we have to fulfill in order to fully participate in Purim. And then there's a little toy that we play with on Purim, which is called the Gragger. And essentially it's a noisemaker. That's a very simple toy that's done, and it has a little stick, a little stem, and on top there's something that twirls, and it creates noise. And when people say, when the Torah is read, when the Megillah is read and the name Haman appears, people make the noise with the Gragger. But if you look at this toy, the Gragger, you'll see that it's an inverse image of another toy from another rabbinic holiday, and the other rabbinic holiday is Hanukkah. And Hanukkah we also play with another toy, and the Hanukkah toy that we play with is a dreidel. And the interesting thing is that the difference between a dreidel and a Gragger is both of them both have a stem, and they both twirl. But a dreidel twirls, you twirl it from above, and it spins on its bottom. And that's what spins, and you hold it from the top. The Gragger is the opposite, which is you hold it from the bottom and it spins above. And the difference between these two toys really essentially talk about the difference between these two holidays. And Hanukkah represents something that's miraculous. Something miraculous occurred. A small band of people, a small army were victorious over this mighty army. A small amount of oil lasted for 8 days. And Purim is a very natural story. Nothing miraculous occurs. It's just a natural event. And there the hands of Hashem, there the hands of God are in all those details. So if you want to reflect that in terms of the toys, Hanukkah you play with a dreidel and you say there's a spinning hand above and it spins the thing below and it's very clear. And in Purim we say it's stationary below. You don't see any movement. When you're holding the Gragger, you're not moving your hand. That's the part of the Gragger that's stationary. What's moving is really what's moving above. And the world below appears to be Helam, concealed. And that's the story of Purim. But if you try to draw a parallel between these two ideas, you'll see that they both speak about a concept of taking something that's square, and when you spin something, that square becomes a circle. So there's something about circling something that is square, to create circles of squares. So we have to think a little bit about what is the difference between a circle and a square. So the basic difference between these two ideas is that a square as a line represents something that's very defined and orderly. There's a beginning and there's an end. There's a top and there's a bottom. Something that's a circle, something that's in a circumference, that represents something that actually has no beginning and has no end. That's a machol, that's a circle. A circle has no beginning and has no end. And there's no point to say that it begins from here. So the difference between a circle and a square is a circle represents transcendence or infinity, the possibility of no beginning and no end. And a square represents something that's very dimensional, something that's very squared. It's interesting that these both holidays are rabbinic holidays, and in both these rabbinic holidays, we take something that's square and we circle it. If you do a little bit deeper, you'll see that there's another third holiday that we practice, which is Simchas Torah, which is not a rabbinic holiday, not from the Talmud, not from Tanakh, not from Kisei HaKodesh, but it's also a holiday. It's mentioned in the Zohar, and then it's accepted by Jews for the last at least 600-700 years. And that's the same idea. You take a bima, which is square. That's the place where you read the Torah, and you circle around the bima, which means you're creating circles in something that's square. So we have to think about these two ideas of circles and squares. Circles, we said, is transcendence. Square represents defined. The difference between these two would also be the difference between poetry and prose. Something that's following a sequence and something that is poetic, an outburst. Law, Torah, represents square because we're receiving the Torah. The Torah is given to us. We receive the Torah and we follow the law. Law is square. In the world of law, there's a first, a second, and a third, and etc. There's an action, there's a reaction. There's a cause and there's an effect. You do something and there's a karmic effect of the reaction. You do something good, there's an effect of good. You do something negative, there's something that's negative. There's no possibility of tshuva, of transformation, of changing something that happened in the past. The past impregnates the present impregnates the future. Everything is just part of one line. That's the world of law. The Torah itself is called Hashir HaZos, the great song. Kisol Chemes Ashir Azos, write this great song, because the Torah itself has the dimension of law, and in the world of absolute law, there is no possibility of change. Something that was done in the past is an absolute. But in the world of poetry, in the world of heart, of a heart space, in the world of circle, we can reclaim the past, because the past is ever present. And that's why the Torah is called Osir Shir. And literally, what you do when you write the Torah is you write it in lines, and then you roll it as a circle, as a scroll. Similarly to the Purim Megillah, which is written as lines and rolled as a scroll. So the difference between these two ideas is law, a law which is very strict, versus a compassionate law, which is the ability to transform things that were done in the past. On a deeper level, we see this idea of circle specifically connected with rabbinic holidays. And the understanding is as follows. There's a famous teaching in the Zohar that the Zohar writes that there are three things that are attached to each other, three that are knotted to each other. Araisa, God, Hashem, Torah, Kuchabrichu, Hashem, Araisa, the Torah, Yisrael, and Israel. So there are three things that are attached to each other. Then there are three knots. There is Hashem, the Creator, the Torah, the wisdom of the Creator, and people of Israel. But the question that is asked is, if they're as a chain connected, these three, then you only need two knots. You don't need three. You would have the Torah, Kuchabrichu, then Araisa, then below that would be the Torah, and then the people of Israel. And you have two knots that would connect them. Why does it say that there are three? And the answer is because Yisrael then reconnects with Araisa, with Kuchabrichu. So you have Kuchabrichu, Hashem, the Torah, Israel, and then Israel connected with Hashem, Torah, Israel. Which means like this, that when you create that circle of Kuchabrichu, Araisa, and Torah, Hashem, the Torah, and Israel, and you take it from a line image, which is one below the next, and then you circle it, what you have now is rabbinic Judaism, which is the idea. If you look in the story of the Megillah, the story of Purim, according to the readings of our sages in Tractate of Shabbos, the Talmud says that in the story of Purim is Hadur Kiblu, that the people re-accepted the Torah, that the Torah was originally given at Sinai. But when the Torah was given at Sinai, the image of the Torah is Tachti Sahar. They were standing suspended under the mountain. The mountain was suspended above their heads. So you have Hashem, the mountain, and the people. And the people are just accepting the Torah. They're just receivers. Later on in the story of the Megillah, in the story of Esther, which is the story of Purim, it says that they accepted the Torah from love. And it wasn't just forced upon them, but they participated in this acceptance of Torah. The participation in the acceptance of Torah, in the revelation of Torah, is where the possibility comes about to create the Yom Tov, the holidays of Purim and Chanukah and all the rabbinic holidays. Because when we're just accepting the Torah, then it's law. And what we're given to the Torah, whatever was revealed to us on Sinai, is what we accept. When Hashem gives us the Torah, Hashem gives us the Torah in a way that we, through the Torah, now can connect with Hashem that's beyond the Torah and add to the Torah. The adding to the Torah comes because of the circle. So when we accept the Torah in a way that we accept it lovingly, not just something that's imposed upon us from something that's a line, one below the next, but we accept it in a way that lifts us up to connect with the Creator, then by our connection with the Creator, through the revelation of the Torah, we can then contribute and add to the Torah. And that's the rabbinic holidays of Chanukah and Purim and Simchas Torah and the other rabbinic holidays, which means the possibility of transformation in our own selves, of the acceptance of something, of acceptance of revelation, is so deep that we now start participating. We're not just receiving as a line, but we're participating as a circle. And that's the prose. That's the poetry. That's the participation, that we are participating in the revealing of the Torah. And that's the deeper truth of Purim. That Purim is not simply a holiday that we celebrate that we were almost about to be annihilated and then we were redeemed and then we survived. But on the deeper level, it's the re-acceptance of the Torah. And that's why we celebrate Purim in a way that is dedicated to our acceptance of the Torah, of learning Torah, receiving Torah, learning more Torah, reading the Megillah, and doing the mitzvahs of the Torah. And that shows our dedication that we're going to add and increase in our joy and participation in the receiving of the Torah.